What's going on, world? It's your boy Jamie the Motivator here today on another episode of Too Crowded Podcast, where I talk to successful individuals about what makes them unique, what helped them get to the next level. I love candid conversations, and today I'm here with Marcus. Marcus, it's a pleasure, man.
You as well, sir.
I thank you for allowing us to come to your office, talk about yourself, talk about your success habits and tips. To the people who don't know you, I want them to get to know you today. I heard this is your first time on camera, first time letting the world know. So what makes you unique, and who is Marcus?
Well, typically I'm the behind the scenes person, right? Running the company, you're not always in the camera. You're actually supporting your team. You're looking at the vision of the company. So that's what you're doing every day, right? So I'm not really on social media other than LinkedIn, no Facebook and stuff like that. And that comes from a different world. It comes from me and how I grew up. It comes from the things I've been through and the things I kind of wanted to hide from people, right? Like being a ex-felon. Who wants to go on and say, oh, you're ex-felon, right?
Absolutely.
Who wants to do that? So it's been a journey, right? So being raised in Greenville, Mississippi in the Delta. I was born in Chicago. My mom had me young, so I moved to Mississippi with my grandparents, and I grew up in the Delta, right? Racism.
In the heart of it.
In the heart, that's the heart. The Delta is the heart of racism, Mississippi. That is the down deep South Mississippi racist world, right?
Oh, yeah.
And, if you look at our schools were segregated, which means they were probably 99.5% black. There was no, there may be a sprinkle of white people, but it's mostly black, right? Right now, I just looked at U.S. News. We have a 29% math literacy rate and like a 31% reading literacy rate in that school to this day.
Wow.
And that's current on U.S. News, right? Because U.S. News keeps track of all the schools. So when I was young, I didn't see. There were successful black people, but not at the level where I would see people in Atlanta. I didn't see Mercedes. I didn't see Jags, right?
From people who look like you.
Exactly, right? If I felt like when I was young, and this is really beliefs, because we were so isolated in the Delta, that to be successful, I had to be white or I had to be a drug dealer. So I saw the athletes come out, Jerry Rice, right down the street at Valley State University, Elber Files, who lived right in Greenville with us, Walter Payton, who went to Jackson State, my mom went to Jackson State. So I saw them, but we talking about just around the neighborhood, it was the drug boy. It's the drug dealer with the 6'4", 6'6", 72 Impala.
Yeah.
Right? The Monte Carlos, right? Woofers in the back.
Crown Vic.
Absolutely. So I saw that and said, okay, that's me. So I naturally gravitated. Because something in me, I wanted to do business. I wanted to make money. Because I was around my grandparents. They were broke. My mom was a school teacher, making $32,000 a year. She was broke, right? So I was like, I don't want to be like this.
Correct.
So I had good grades in high school, but I was still dibbling dabbling, selling nickel bags, right? Because I still gravitated, even though I was good in school. I had that.
Gravitated to the money.
I gravitated, like it was, because I saw blacks and I said, I don't want to do that.
You saw struggle.
So I went to the military. And even in the military, during my time in the military, right? When I got out and moved to Atlanta, I still gravitated to the people that back at home, right? So I connected with people back at home and said, I'm in Atlanta. How about we do what you're doing there, here, right? So I started to dibble and dabble, moving marijuana back and forth, right? And it was like, that was my way of saying, this is how you make money. Now keep in mind, I had a skill set. The military, I understood, came out with crypto background, top secret clearance, but I could have done anything. Inside of me.
Gravitating towards that money.
The way that you make, keep in mind the military, I'm making $600 for the month. Not every 2 weeks, right? Remember, living in the dorm, in the military, you probably $300 every 2 weeks.
They came a long way.
Yeah, so, and I'm like, this is not going to be the way I want to do things, right? I want to make money, right? I want to be a business person. So I got here, got in a lot of trouble. Trafficking cocaine, You know, 3 years later, I walk out and I say, now what? So I walked out. I remember walking out with $98 from the books and the clothes I had on.
Now,
and that was what my uncle sent me into the jail to get out.
Wait, $98. So when you went in there, I'm sure you didn't only have $98.
No, I ain't had $98 in, but they took everything. Remember when you go into prison, even when I walked out and when I got caught, and I walked back into my apartment, they had gone through everything. Right? They had torn up stuff. They had taken stuff. So really, when you walk out of the prison system like that, you truly are starting from the bottom up.
So is it true they give you a bus ticket somewhere?
Yeah, you could get a bus ticket if you weren't local, right? I could have gone anywhere, right? But me, I kind of hung around, started calling people I knew, hey, I need to stay somewhere, you know what I mean? So, I got a chance to cop on people's couch or whatever. But then somebody that I worked with prior to going in was like, look, man, I'm gonna let you stay with us. So he took me in, and he was doing networking. Back then it was Novell. Nobody really knows about Novell. That's back in the day, right? Everybody's in the Windows world, right? Novell was that operating system, the network operating system of the past. It was the 90s, 80s, 90s. Novell ran everything, like Microsoft does today.
Okay.
So he's like, hey, you got that technical skill set, man. You were doing computer stuff before you went in. Get back into it. I'm going to teach you networking. So he literally set up his basement. It was like a lab. And every day, I was working, coming out of prison. I took the electrical apprentice program. So I walked out, I was making $7.50 an hour, and I was staying in his basement, and I was training every day. Just like you train in the gym, I was training. I was in the lab, I was in the computers, right?
Now, at what age are you?
Early 20s.
This
Early
training.
20s. Mm-hmm.
So you got out in your early 20s, and now you're in this training at your friend's basement.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm going, and I'm like literally every day. I'm getting off work at the electrical company about 4:30. I'm going there, and I'm in the lab. I'm training. I'm loading discs. Back then it was diskettes, floppies, right? Back in the day, right? People don't remember floppies, right? So I'm loading, and he's teaching me. Here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. So I then end up getting my first job, right? Worked for NCR. The reason I got that first job is obviously the grace of God, but they didn't do background checks. Remember, they just started that background check like around really when 9/11 hit.
In the 2000s.
9/11 hit, right? Everybody was like, background check, because 9/11 hit. Before then, it was very lean, right? You have an interview.
Airport was different.
Yeah, you didn't have security there. You just rolled through the airport. Your folks can come wait on you at the gate, right? But think about, coming out with a felony, and I'm like, now what? And somebody takes me in. So I'll always be grateful to Earl, and that's his name, who took me in with his family. And I was staying there with his wife and daughter, and I was staying down in the basement, and they fed me. They took care of me, right? And because I had literally nothing. And they got me through that point, and I got my first certification, Novell certification, like in 96.
Okay.
And I went from there. Since then, I have accomplished the highest levels of Cisco certifications, the highest levels of Microsoft certifications. I've now built intelligence to a multi-million-dollar firm. And it's been all, like I said, it's been grace. It's been a lot of work, and it's been relentless, being relentless. So there are two things I tell people: you got to be relentless, and you got to be disciplined. I'm on time, right? I'm disciplined. I don't make many excuses, because excuses, I've learned, don't really get me anywhere.
Absolutely.
So I've worked my butt off. Like when somebody else was out partying, I was studying, right? I was configuring routers, switches, setting up workstations, right? Building servers, right? My extra money was going towards ordering stuff off eBay so I could have it at the lab, because I didn't have CBTs. We didn't have computer-based training back then. Everything you did was a real piece of equipment that you ordered, right? So this just got me in that mindset, so I continued to grow, and I never, ever looked back, all right? But the biggest thing I can tell you is that I believe, because I took ownership of what I did, I locked me up. And what I see today is a lot of people who walk out of prison, they believe the system locked them up. They believe the system was against them. Right. I believe that I locked me up. So I was ready to recover and go through the restoration process because I knew I had screwed up. I knew it was me, right? And so when somebody asked me, oh man, you got locked up, I locked me up. They just gave me a place, right? And that was the one key difference. As I work with young brothers out of prison now to help train them, that's the one thing I listen to is I say, did you learn? What did you learn? And if they say, well, man, you know, the white man locked me up, I already know.
They ain't learned nothing.
You ain't learned anything, right?
Because it's kind of like that self-accountability becomes your rehabilitation.
That's your guiding light, is the fact that nobody has to tell you anything. Nobody has to sit back and tell you, oh, you know what, I know I did wrong. I now need to make up for it. And that's what I spent my life going through the restoration process. And I believe that's so important. So many people get broken and they never, ever, ever get restored. And I focused on complete restoration, credit, finances, everything. I've gone through that process, and it has not been easy.
So if I'm talking to a felon right now, male or woman, male or female, and they're at a place of, you know, they fresh out of prison, and they're now on this end of the felony. So what are some things that, one, we definitely know self-accountability is the first step of rehabilitation, but how can they find that next thing for them? Because I remember talking to a felon, and she talked about how it's hard to get an apartment, to get a job. If you have a kid, you know, go to certain daycares. And it's like, I need daycare for my kids, but I'm a felon, so I can't do certain things. I can't live in certain areas. Yeah. And then depending on the type of felon, it makes it even much harder. Despite all of that, you're still here today. We're still here in your office. So if I'm talking to that individual, male or female, what is something else outside of that self-accountability that they can learn and apply to their lives?
You can't go forward looking backwards. You can't drive looking in the rearview mirror, right? At some point, you got to say, I got to move on, right? So the first, I know this sounds cliche. I know this sounds crazy, right? But the first thing you have to do is you got to forgive yourself. If you can't do that, it's going to be hard. So I had to forgive me. Like, you made a bad decision. When do you, the whole world can forgive you, but if you don't forgive you, you're going to be looking there every day, stuck in your mistakes, and you just can't move forward. So I had to learn, man, you made a mistake. You're afforded that opportunity. You got caught. Other people doing worse than you. You got caught, and this is the consequence. So what you're going through right now is a consequence of your actions. It's not because the system was out to get you. It's because you made a bad decision, and now you have to learn to recover for it. So that pushed me. And then what really pushed me is when people told me I couldn't do it, I had family members said, you're never going to recover. So I was working my butt off to spite them, all right? I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to show you. Yeah. And then one day, these same people are coming to me asking me for help, right? When things are going bad, hey, can we get rent or whatever? I'm like, I'm the guy that you said was never going to make it. Correct. Why am I now helping you out? Why am I paying your mortgage or your rent, right? And you know, you're looking at that because these are the people that you feel like should be in your corner, right? And should be supporting you, but they're down in you. So I've learned never kick a person when they're down. I'll never, when I see people, even homeless people, I will pull off the road and give them money. I'll go get them food because I remember. That could be in there, bro. I remember walking out and not having anything and having to stay in somebody's basement, right? And had nothing. Too proud. Yeah. So I never forget that basement. Gratitude. Yeah. And the one thing that's really fueled me is I'm never looking at chasing money or success. I'm running from what I went through. Yeah. That's something different, right? When you hear people, oh, I'm chasing success, I'm chasing this. I'm running from my past. I know what's in that door, right? I've been through that door. I know how it is to come out of that dark room. Right. I don't want to go back. So I work my butt off, right? Not because I'm chasing something, not because I'm chasing money, not because I'm chasing stuff, because I know where I've been. I don't want to go back.
So since you've gone from the basement to the boardroom, since 96 to 2022, what are some of the biggest accolades that you've been able to obtain, some of the success that people don't deem successful, but we also deem successful?
Oh man, being a black person in technology, getting in a tech, running a tech firm. If you look at Atlanta, right, you're in the black mecca. Name me 5 black IT companies. Nobody can do that because they don't exist. There are 5 IT people. Where are your companies? Where are your tech firms? Tell you what, name me 5 large black CPA firms. I didn't say onesie twosies. Give me 5 large black legal firms that's black. King and Spalding ain't black, right? You got black folks. You got black attorneys. Where are your partners? You get me?
Yeah.
So if you start looking and you start putting things, but you look at an H.J. Russell and Company, Mr. Russell, they're the largest black construction company in the country.
Correct.
C.D. Moody, Mr. Moody, I know them personally. I know, Jerome Russell personally, Michael Russell. I work for him. So down at the Russell Center, down at H.J. Russell at the office.
They built some amazing things down there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Pascal. I know these people, right? And if you look at them and look at a chance, I got a chance to do work for the King Center, right? As a felon. I'm running cable back then because I wasn't the computer guy. I was running network cable. I was doing whatever it took to build a company. So whether it be running a workstation, putting in, or running cable, I was doing it. I was doing everything, right? If you told me come put a camera up, I was doing it. I put in everything you'd imagine.
Every
right?
facet of the
Absolutely.
industry.
So I learned everything about this business, and it helped me get to this point now. So to be honest, I can't run a business by myself, but on the tech side, I can pretty much do everything. If I had to do a whole project, do everything myself, from the workstation, from running the cable, to put in the network switches, to connect it to the internet. I do it all myself, right? And you have to be self-sufficient when you're doing that, right? Because that's what you're trying to do. You're saying, no matter what happens, even if my company doesn't make it, I still can do this work myself. So I will never go homeless again because I know my skill set. So as long as God give me my health, I'm not worried about a job. I'm not worried about going to nobody knocking on their door saying, can I have a job, right? I can go to Craigslist and do all the jobs, put in workstations, put in servers, you name it, I'll go find it, right? I'll cut grass. Just give me a lawnmower and some gas and a weed eater. I'll start a lawn care business, right? Going back, being broke and being a failure is not an option for me anymore, and I never look at it. So to people who are looking and saying, what can I do as a felon, right? You can do a lot. What do you want to do? What's in your heart? What's your skill set? And if you don't have a skill set, learn one. Take an aptitude test. First, learn what you're gifted at, right? I'm not going to go play professional basketball, right?
And being 5'7",
you know what I'm saying?
5'8",
right.
that's not going to work. Yeah.
It's not going to work. So guess what? I ain't trying to play professional basketball, right? I'm trying to stay in my lane. So what is your lane? So if you don't have a lane, figure it out. You have one. God's given all of us a gift. What is your gift, right? And that's what you have to do, right? And most people say, well, I ain't got no skill set. I ain't got no skill set. That's because what have you tried? Have you gone and taken a test to figure out what you're good at? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Stay away from your weaknesses. Go towards your strengths, right? Are you mechanically inclined? Are you technically inclined, right? You good with your hands, right? Can you look at something and figure it out? Are you tinkering with toys? That stuff is all the ability to make money.
So do you have a organization for my listeners
I do.
that they can go to?
Absolutely. Well, obviously my tech firm is Intelligis Inc., right, which is intelligis.com, INTELLIGIS.com.
Go check it out immediately.
And my not-for-profit now that I help people who are coming out of prison, who want to change and want a skill set, a technical skill set. I can't help everybody, but if you're technically inclined, we can get you somewhere, right? And that's Bounce Back organization, which is real simple. Bounce Back, just like bouncing the ball.org, right? And those are the two. So one is what I do every day. That's how I pay my bills or whatever case may be and support staff. But Bounce Back is my purpose. And I've learned and embraced that. So I fund this myself. I don't ask anybody. I take money from Intelligis when I'm working, and I give it to Bounce Back to help people.
Yeah, I heard a quote say that a rich man without a philanthropy is really a broke man.
Absolutely. You got to have something in your heart, man, because that's how God works, right? You give, and it shall be given to you. And I believe that to be really true, because it's like you'll give, and God will just continue to bless you with more jobs. And I'm getting jobs that I know I shouldn't even be getting, right? Not even qualified for, but you still get them. You show up at the table. So it allows you to go through the door and have a seat at the table. And as long as you can walk through the door and have a seat at the table, you have a chance, right? It's the people who don't walk through that door. That's the problem, right? But if I can get through the door, I got a chance. Even if I lose, right? Put me at the table, right? That's all I'm looking for. Give me a chance. Let me get to the table, right?
Well, Marcus, I've learned a lot here. You definitely inspired me. I got chills just while talking to you because it's like it removes the excuses. So many excuses that people rely on, or these validated excuses, and these are validated points, but at the end of the day, they're still excuses. I like to finish off with asking, what do you deem as being more tough, high levels of success? And then as you get to that success, is it harder to be successful, or is it harder to not fail, or like operating within failure? And I'm break that down. So a lot of people, they get to a level of success, but it's not their success sometimes that hinders them, it's their failure that hinders them as they get so tall, as they get so high up.
Oh, I can tell you that because I study that all the time. All the time. Failure is part of the process. You cannot be successful without failing. Think about you. You work out. What are you trying to do with your muscles?
I'm trying to work them to completion and failure every day.
Tear them down so they can build back up what? Stronger, better, right? What do you think you got to do in life with anything you do? You're working. And if you're going to build something, the people who don't fail are typically not doing anything. They're not taking risk. It's the people you fail. And what you do is, I saw something on somebody's shirt that was funny, right? It says, I never lose. I either win or I learn. Think about that. If you had that mindset, no matter what you do, you never lose.
Correct.
You win or you learn. So I'm either winning or I'm learning. What they talk about, what do you say about that? Thomas said about the light bulb, right?
He just found out.
He said 9,000 whatever ways, right? That the light bulb doesn't work. He never said he failed. Right? Failure is part of the process. So if you're scared to fail, the only risk is not taking risk. Right? Period. That's true. And you listen to Les Brown, Tony Robbins, T.D. Jakes, Andy Stanley, right? If you listen to that stuff, like I don't really ride around listening to a lot of music. I'm always keeping positive stuff in my head. I'm listening to Les Brown.
Daily library.
That's it. Every day. I'm listening to something, a podcast on something, right? Like T.D. Jakes, his little 20-minute T.D. Jakes sermons, motivational sermons, where he's cut and taking part of his sermon out. Like storms.
Yep.
He says that storms are part of life, right? It is what it is. So there will be storms, but every day can't be a storm. Every day can't be sunny outside, right? You're going to go through storms. You're going to go through times where there are no storms. It's going to be the sunshine, right? I had to learn that as I kept going through. And keep in mind, I don't know, my dad never had access to my dad. My mom died at 48, and I lost all my grandparents. So you're looking at a person that, when I tell you, have raised themselves. My mom was gone at 48 years old. My dad died at 36. So think about me. I'm figuring things out by myself.
In real time.
Period.
In real
If
time.
you made a mistake, I'm fixing it myself. And that's what that life has been. Don't worry about it. Just keep going. Never stop. Never quit. And I mean, I'm not talking about just from a motivational point. Failure shouldn't be an option. Figure it out, right? You never, ever, ever lose. You win or you're learning, right? And that's what you got to keep doing. If you want to try something, try a business, try it. It's better for you to try it and say that you fail than you never try at all, because that makes you a failure.
Yeah, that feeling is daunting.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I think I could have.
Nah,
what if you live your whole life saying, I think if I would have just tried, I think.
Yeah, that feeling there is.
That would drive you crazy.
Yeah.
I would rather just do it and be like, okay, it didn't work, right?
Yep.
At least I know what I got to do to change it to make it work.
So as we close, my number one quote for life is movement. If you stop, you die. And I equate that to fitness, business, finances, faith, relationships. What's your number one mantra or quote that you live by, and what does it mean?
Number one, what would be a quote that I would really think about? I just, I don't know, man. I just think it's more like being relentless, right? Never stop. More like you, right? Never stop.
Right.
Never give up, right? Because it is what it is, right? You're going to go through bad things. You're going to go through storms. Just never quit. And just like you said, if you stop, you're dead, right?
That's it.
Never quit. That's how it is, right? It just, that shouldn't be an option. You fail, get back on the horse. You fall off, get back home, right? Keep riding. And you have to do that, right? If you're going to try to get to the next level, it requires that level of commitment, right? Because if you ain't committed, people, a lot of times you see people who are not successful, it's not because they don't have a great idea. It's not because they can't do it. It's that they stick their little toe in it. But they got to be all in. You got to jump in, right?
Submerge.
Submerge.
You gotta submerge everything.
Absolutely. You can't be like sticking your toe in it,
Yeah.
your foot, and you tippy-toeing. Oh, if it works, yeah. No, you
Then
gotta
I
be
go all in. Yeah.
From the down, go to it and just jump in, right? And then figure things out, right? You don't want to have analysis paralysis. You can try to study something so long and you never get anything done. So that's very important too, is right? Understanding that don't have analysis paralysis. You can study and plan, but you can't plan something and never get started. Right? If you plan a trip and you never go, never get in the car, you ain't going nowhere. Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, Marcus, hey, you definitely loaded us up today, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for blessing me, man, to even allow me to do this.
No,
I really mean
absolutely.
it. And I hope it means something to somebody. I hope that somebody gets something out of it, and I really mean that from my heart. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, you heard it here first. It's your boy Jamie the Motivator. As I always say, I meet you at the top because the bottom is too crowded. Make sure you share, like, and comment on this video, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.